Okay, so the big news this week, and I was going to do it in a manga news, but I was like, this is so interesting. Let's just talk about it in its own video. And that is Beckett grading your manga. I mostly know Beckett grading from, Pokemon cards, to be honest. But they just announced this week that they're going to open their business to grading manga. And kind of what is known right now, or at least what I know, because this is how I found out about stuff, is from manga alerts on Twitter. And actually, Geeks at Parent just did an interview. If you want to go check it out, it's over on his channel. So what we know right now is it's going to cost about $20 to $30 to go get your manga sent off and graded. And you can get like a 9.5 or a 10 or something like that, right? And I'm kind of surprised it's taken so long for this to happen. Because, I mean, video games and comic books and all that stuff has been graded for so long. I actually watch a ton of like video game collectors and comic book collectors and things like that on YouTube. And so when I read this, it kind of made sense. Like, this is a collecting hobby. Like, obviously, hey, a company would want a piece of your money to grade your stuff because there's going to be a market for that. And it's the market, trust me, we're going to see very soon people being like, hey, I got a Beckett 10 volume 1 of One Piece. That'll be $10,000. Free shipping though. So nice. Right. And while I'm not personally interested in grading my manga, like that's just me personally. Cause here's the thing. If it's in a box, it's going to be tough to be like, let me read this. if it's trapped in a box, I'm not going to be able to read it. And I don't know. I like to read the books that I buy, but I think what's going to bum me out by this whole thing, well, I really could care less, because I think if you get enjoyment, and this goes with anything, like if you get enjoyment with the Pokemon card boxes sitting on your shelf, graded, unopened, if you get enjoyment out of that, if you get enjoy out of collecting comic books like this, or if you are going to get enjoyment out of manga being in boxes on your shelves, dude, that's what collecting is about. Like, you just collect stuff because you enjoy either looking at it or playing the games or reading the books. No one can really tell you the right or wrong way to collect, in my opinion. But I think what I'm nervous about is there's going to be a run on a lot of people buying multiple copies of what they consider big manga. The volume 1s of a lot of probably Shonen Jump series. Volume 100s of stuff. Pinnacle volumes are going to be harder and harder to come by, I think, because people are going to double and triple and quadruple up. And while I may not agree with that, I don't think manga is the first hobby that has happened to. And I think the market's going to have to adapt. Whether that means they print more volumes or pre-orders start to matter. You're like, man, listen, I got to pre-order on Books A Million or Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com or Crunchyroll store or wherever. You might have to deal with that for a while. And that's sad. I'm sad about that. Just cue the sad music like that. Yeah. The door is now open for people looking like, I have no interest in checking out this series, but Kakurabachi Volume 1's coming out, and that took over the internet. I'm going to buy 10 copies. I'm going to send them in to get graded, and I'm going to be rolling in them. Back the truck up. Just dump the money. Here we go. But I don't think this is going to be like the Pokemon card boom. I don't think you're going to see a $1 million manga volume. Well, hold on. A volume 1 of One Piece signed by Oda. Like, all right, maybe down the line that makes sense to be a very valuable manga. Because the other thing they talked about is they're going to validate signatures of authors. How do you do that? I guess you could cross-reference stuff, but I think that's going to be tough. And that wraps into the bigger problem. The whole problem that I see with this coming down the line is there's going to be fake signatures. People trying to cash in on this manga thing that they really have no interest in, and that sucks. Because think about it. You have to pay, on the low end, $12 a volume, then $20 to $30 to get it graded. So you're already in there for $43. If somebody sold me, this is just me, this is just how I collect, right? If somebody said, hey man, I have a volume 1 of a series. I'm just using volume 1s because those are usually the most popular ones for $43, but it's in this box. You can't read it. You can't see what all the hype was about, but it's triple the price. Minimum, because that's what they're committed to by doing this. I'm hoping we got our stuff together, right? We're like, hey, listen, In this hobby that we're in, we collect to read. We don't just collect to put in a shiny box and then charge people an astronomical amount of money on Mercari and eBay and Amazon. Because I'll be honest with you, I think part of this hobby is selling a little bit of your collection to make room for stuff that you actually want. Because if you're anything like me, sometimes, most of the time, you might, I don't know, randomly pick up volumes you probably have no interest in, but you're kind of interested, so you check them out, and then you're like, oh, well, you know, not for me, but then the volume one sits on your shelf for a long time, because you're like, well, maybe I'll come back to the series, maybe it just wasn't the right time to read the series, and then, you know, maybe it'll connect with me. All right, listen, I have a problem. You've been around on this channel, you know. Don't act surprised. Don't act surprised. And while that part of the collecting hobby is finally reaching manga, you know, it's been around for video games, trading cards, comic books, and all that kind of stuff. And it sucks because we're going to have to deal with people charging astronomical amount of money for a Beckett 10. The good thing, the great thing, we don't have to support it by buying it. Because you could take that stand and be like, you know what? I don't want my manga that way. I don't want it in a box. I don't want it where I can't read it. I just don't support it. I don't want it. But it is kind of cool. I use the term cool loosely. Not for the people that are going to charge astronomical amounts of money, but for the people that want it as a showpiece. I think it would be really fun if you've had a manga for a long time, like pages yellow, like just in horrible condition. Send it in. Be like, and just hang it on your wall. Be like, this is my Rave Master Volume 2 that I had when I was 8. And it's a 4, but it shows the memories that I had reading it. I think that would be very interesting. I might do that. I'm gonna ship in a Shonen Jump that has those yellow pages from when I was a kid that I picked up at Barnes & Noble, and be like, I'm grading it for the memories. You know, it might say 4 on there. It's a 10 out of 10 in my heart, but I don't know. It's an interesting time, and there are definitely going to be collectors that maybe get into manga for grading. And while I don't understand that, again, the great thing about collecting is you can collect however you want. Doesn't really matter. Unless if you're at the store, okay, and you see a child that wants the latest volume of a series. There's only one volume on the shelf. You're not going to read it. You just want, oh, pristine condition. I want a 10 out of 10. I'm going to flip it on eBay. You know what you do? You give it to the kid to read. That's kind of what we can all agree on. You know what I mean? I think that's fair. Because it is one of those things that I never understood with comic books either. Why would you put something that you want to open and read and see the art sealed, forever not being able to read it until you crack it open, and then that money that you spent, the $30 or whatever it may be, was pointless? That's just not how I collect, right? I don't collect any of this stuff because I think it's going to be worth money down the line. Because here's the thing, let's be completely honest. The way I read books and stuff happens to paper very easily. There could be a flood and it's all gone. I collect manga because I read it. And that's why I think this kind of stuff, I'll just never understand it. But again, I try to be open-minded. I try to be like, okay, if that's how they like to collect, like, who am I to say, like, that is wrong? That's the wrong way to collect. You shouldn't do that. What are you doing? Doesn't make it wrong just because it doesn't make sense to me. Great thing about the present that we live in right now, a lot of the series that you either want to read or are kind of interested in, there's obviously, you know, out of print series and things like that, but the majority of stuff that's being talked about in the popular culture, you can go get the box set. You can go to Books A Million and get a volume. And the great thing about a lot of some of the out of print stuff, the company is going to release a different edition. So you can always get those stories. And with digital apps and all those things, you can read those stories. And trust me, this is going to age so poorly. Come back to this video in 10 years and be like, look at this dummy. Talking about, hey, he has he has faith. People are not going to spend astronomical amounts of money. I bought this One Piece Beckett 9.5 for $5 million. But I do kind of hope that like people are going to kind of laugh at it like it's a joke. And I think why a lot of good things have come out of manga becoming so popular around the world this is just one of those things. It's like, yeah, comes with the territory. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. Just makes sense. So I don't know. What do you think of Beckett grading manga now? Are you going to go spend a ton of money on a, hey, volume 1, 8.5, $5,000 on eBay right now? Buy it now. Hey, though, free shipping. So, worth it. As always, I love talking with you guys in the comments. So let's talk about it down in the comments down below. And I hope if you're having a bad day, it gets better. If you're having a good day, I hope it becomes fantastic. I'll see you next time.